Friday, guys, and welcome to PuckTime, powered by WagerTalk TV. Andrew, Carmine, and Buster here with you to break down 3 games, best bets, promotional props, and 6 in 60. Carm will take a look at some games for Saturday's slate as well. 5 games on tap, Carm. And you know what? I think it's a perfect number of games for a Friday. It's a great day for hockey. How are you, Carm?
It's always a great day for hockey, Andrew. I'm doing fine, losing my voice, so you won't hear much of me today until we get to the 6 and 60. And the 6 and 60's got to be better than last Saturday, Andrew, because it was like watching the Shaq take free throws. Just lots of misses in that one. But we're going to cover Pittsburgh and Florida, Montreal. I had to put Montreal on the schedule. 2 Montreal fans on the panel. How could I not put Montreal on there? As they're in Chicago to face the Blackhawks. Your prop segment. Then we're going to go to the West Coast, Nashville and Vancouver, and then we'll finish it off with the 6 in 60 and some show best bets. Hopefully they can get there as well for you guys and send you into the weekend with a winning Friday night. But let's get right to it. Don Buster is in the hot seat today. Florida minus 210, Buster. Pittsburgh Penguins plus 175. Panthers off a loss last night to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-1. How are you breaking this one down?
Yes, thank you, Carmine. I just want to wish everybody a happy New Year's. Hopefully it'll be good and prosperous for all of us here on PuckTime. Like you said, Carmine, Florida on a back-to-back tonight. And they were, to me, they were a complete no-show for the first 2 periods, even though it was 1-1 at that point. But Carolina just outplayed them. They did play a better third period. But in saying that, they gave up the goal, and then they gave up the empty netter and lost. So, now, Florida have been okay on back-to-backs. They're 2-1, the 3 games that they've played on a back-to-back. And I do like them against a Pittsburgh club who, truthfully, at home, you can play them. On the road, not so much. Florida does have that in-season revenge after losing 5-4 in overtime in Pittsburgh on December 3rd. Anybody watch that game? Florida totally dominated that game. Here was the problem. Spencer Knight played, and he was terrible, allowing 5 goals on 16 shots. It looks like Knight will be in net tonight because not once this year in those other 3 games did they play Bobrovsky back-to-back. So Knight will be in net tonight again, and we believe he will want to, make up for that just terrible performance that he had in Pittsburgh, especially being at home. Now, there's no way I can lay 210 on Florida or 220, whatever they might be now. But I do like Florida. Like Florida for the first period, like Florida for regulation, even like Florida on the puck line. I think Florida is your play here. I will talk a bit about the total. We have a 6 here with these 2 teams. A lot of times they're 6.5 and 7. We've seen even 7s in the last couple of years. So we will some line value if you want to play it over. I do lean to the over. However, Florida has gone under 8 of their last 9 games at home. That's, that says something. Pittsburgh, they've gone forward to the over the last 6. Going to leave that total alone. I know it's easy to want to play Florida over, but you know what? Especially after they haven't been scoring at all. They've been playing terrible. I think they have a really good game tonight, even on the back-to-back. The numbers tell me to leave the total alone. We're all over Florida in this one, guys.
All over Florida.
I don't blame you. All over Florida. Listen, I don't blame you. And you talk about the total. I'm surprised the total actually wasn't a little higher. And I guess they're waiting for starting goalies to be confirmed. Bobrovsky started yesterday, so it's going to likely be Spencer Knight in goal tonight for the Florida Panthers. And it's on a season, the guy's been good. His goals against average is under 3. I think it's at 288. His save percentage, unfortunately, is a tick under 900, which is never good to be under 900. But and he was in goal back on, I think it was December 3rd against the Penguins in Pittsburgh, and they lost that game 5-4 in OT. And I remember watching that game, and Florida just made mistake after mistake after mistake in that one, fell behind 4-1. used 3 goals in the final 13 minutes of that game to tie it up, goes to overtime, and they lose it in overtime. So 9 goals scored in that one, and none of them, with the exception of one by Florida, came on special teams. It was all 5-on-5 goals. So we'll see if the goals come tonight. I think they have to be better defensively in front of Spencer Knight and maybe exact a little bit of revenge here. I'm going to do the Buster special here. I'm going to take the first period. Florida -0.5, plus 135. Let me give me some plus money with a team that's -210 overall in the number, and see if we can get out with the winner after 20 minutes, Andrew.
Carm, I'm going to break one of my own rules because I always tell you if I'm going to take a Pittsburgh play on or against them, I got to take the team total over because I can't trust this team's defense. But in this particular situation, Buster talked about Spencer Knight and kind of bouncing back after a previous performance against Pittsburgh. How about the previous performance he had against the Montreal Canadiens? Because I watched that game, and as much as I was excited about that one as a fan of the Canadiens, Spencer, look, let's be real here, guys. Some teams have a clear number one guy, and some teams it's not as big of a drop-off. The Florida Panthers have a huge, huge drop-off from the number one to number two guy. But I look at the last game they played yesterday, they will not be happy with that game, and I think that this is a Florida team that sometimes we forget about. Even though they're so talented, they are a good defensive team. So I know that typically, guys, second half of back-to-back for all of us means over, but I'm actually going to go towards under 6.5 here. And I may even sprinkle a little bit on the plus money because I did see even money. Pittsburgh team total under 2.5 goals to go even more just specifically on that one team. I just think Florida, after their game yesterday, I know it was a low-scoring loss against Carolina. I know it is second half of a back-to-back, but we've seen this Pittsburgh team in a win one, lose one, win one, lose one kind of frame right now where they have a good one, they have a letdown, they have a bad one. But I think this actually could be a surprisingly defensive game. Now, could it also be a possibility of the Panthers take all their frustrations of some recent losses out on Pittsburgh? Absolutely. But I would not be shocked to see a Florida Panthers defensive masterclass. They win this game, only surrender 1 or 2 goals, and we're seeing a 6.5 as the total here. Of course, it is shaded towards the under. But with that being said, I do like the full game under 6.5 here, guys. And again, look, we always talk about back-to-backs and how they could mean overs and fatigue. And of course, it is baked into the number here with these 6.5s. But I think a lot of that time it has to do with if Florida won last night, I would actually be more intrigued with the over. There's no letdown spot here whatsoever. And, with Carm looking at the first period, Buster talking about Florida as well. We're all kind of interested in what this Florida team will do in this second half of a back-to-back. So I'm going to just focus on defensive hockey and take the under 6.5. And Carm, as you know, I have a tough time I'm always taking these full game team totals with Pittsburgh on or against them. And here I am taking an under in a Pittsburgh game. So hopefully I get some weird stuff going on here on a Friday and we can see a low scoring game between these two. But hey, I think there's a possibility all three of us come out on top in this game. You mentioned off the top of the show that you put a Montreal Canadian game on for the two of us, and I was waiting for when we were gonna get Montreal games put on here. They're playing pretty good hockey right now, but I think we should hear from you first on this game, Carm. I want to know what you think about this game, as they are playing pretty well. Vegas, Tampa, Florida. Yeah. What do you think in this game?
Yeah, I had to put them on there for you guys because it's an interesting one. It's an interesting in game, and Montreal is taking some money early this morning as well too, off the overnight opener. Listen, since getting bombed back in like the middle of December against the Pittsburgh Penguins, they lost that game 9-2. That one, the Canadiens, there has to be some pride in that dressing room because they have played so much better. They've only dropped, I think, a couple of games. One of them was a 4-2 game to the Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg, which is, as far as losses go, it was a respectable loss against a very good Winnipeg team. Surprising that they lost to Columbus, but Columbus plays very good at home as well, too, as we've seen. They're claiming scalps of many teams. Speaking of claiming scalps, where the Blackhawks claim Montreal scalp tonight, not with this form on this team. They're just not playing well. I don't get. I get the Chicago Blackhawks, but I don't get how bad they have been playing over the last while. Like, they're losing games by 3, by 4 goals. We're seeing obviously the Bedard sophomore jinx. He's not having a very good season as well too, and this is why. Like, since just before we went to air, the line went from like -130 to -140 on Montreal. 6-1 their last 7 games. You would hope. And we're talking about 6-1 their last 7 games, Montreal Canadiens, with wins over the Vegas Golden Knights when they were down 2-0 after 1. They beat Tampa in Florida, completing the double, beat Detroit Red Wings in a couple games, and the Wings were starting to come around, and the Wings are winning now 3 straight, and they beat the Buffalo Sabres as well too, and pretty much dominated them in that one. That one was over before it even started. So they're playing well. You would normally say, "Oh my God, is this a spot in which like the Canadiens underestimate their opponents?" I don't think so. I don't think Montreal is built to underestimate anyone in the league. You know that you have to beat the teams that are around you, and while they're in a different conference, Chicago is one of the teams that are around you. In that sense of talking about teams that are in the bottom 4 or 5 in each conference, Canadiens are moving up. They deserve to be the favorites here. So I'll take them at the price of, I have written down -130, but they're now at -140. I'll send it over to Buster for his thoughts.
Well, Carmine, of course, I'm quite pleased with my Canadiens right now. We do, as you say, we have 2 clubs that are going in complete opposite directions here. Montreal's won 6 of their last 7, and they've looked pretty good doing it. That Tampa, the Florida double where they beat Tampa and Florida. That was super impressive. They like dominated that Tampa Bay team that game. It wasn't even close. Like, they played really good hockey. Then they beat Florida. I mean, that to me was really impressive. Of course, coming back from Vegas as well, they show some heart. They're a team. Just how I like to play the game. Just show some heart. Play as a team, and they've been doing that. And the thing is with Chicago, they're just not, like you had mentioned, Carmen, they're not just losing. They're losing bad. They've lost 5 in a row, and out of those 5 games, 4 of them have been more than 2 goals. So, yeah, they're just not playing that well, and their defense has been terrible. They're allowing, over those last 5 games, almost 5.5 goals on average per game. You're not winning any games in the NHL doing that, that's for sure. Yeah, I like Montreal here as well, but I have a little saying that I try not to bet my Montreal Canadiens unless it's into the playoffs. Then I'm all over them. But yeah, Montreal looks like they're in a great spot here. Can Chicago actually show up for a game? I'm not too sure they can, tell you the truth. Because I'll tell you, ever since that Patrick Laine came back and got into helping that power play, the power play has been really good for Montreal. And I think basically being a veteran, he's kind of helped that dressing room, right? He's really helped them. Obviously, something's happened because this team, they do still allow a lot of shots on his goal. But Montalban, he's already confirmed tonight. He's been playing great. So I expect him to continue his good season. So I do like Montreal here. The price is getting a little pricey, as you said, Carmine. As for the total, because of the Chicago D, they've played their last 5 games well over the total. Montreal, they've been scoring as well of late. In their last 7 games, those 7 games that they've played, 6 wins, 1 loss, they're averaging over 4.5 goals a game. That's pretty good. Now, normally, I would be saying, and we play this angle a lot. I know Andrew likes the angle. 2 bad teams, it's got to go over, right? It's an over. They're going to just play a little bit of pond hockey, whatever. Thing is now, Montreal is not a bad team. They're a pretty good team. They're playing a Chicago team that just haven't been playing well at all. So I do lean to the over here. That would be probably my play more so than Montreal at minus 140, only because I always worry when a team gets hammered like that going up, especially Montreal has been on the road now. I think this will be their 4th road game. So just to watch that. But yeah, Montreal and the over are the 2 leans I have in this game. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if this Canadiens club can keep this up. I'm not sure if they can, but it's been fun to watch so far.
Yeah, as exciting as it's been. Go ahead, Carm.
I was going to say, no, and I'm going to get to you. I'm going to throw it right to you, but it's exciting to be able to talk about the Montreal Canadiens with you two guys because, like, I know you guys grew up with the posters on the back of your like bedroom doors. For Buster, it was probably Rocket Richard and so Guy Lafleur and stuff like that.
Guy Lafleur, yeah.
I even gave Buster my Guy Lafleur jersey that I bought for when he was in town. And for Andrew, probably a little more recently. So he probably has like Carey Price and Carey Price's top 10 ammunition firearms that are now banned in Canada. But with that said, Andrew, fire us the winner in this game. Come on, man.
Well, look, I might be a little bit contrarian in this game, guys, and we're going to see how this ends up going. But we always call Friday Freaky Friday here, and I'm going to just based on there's so much I could say, but nobody wants to hear me talk about the Habs for 20 minutes. But what I'm going to say is this, and I think Buster mentioned it with Montembeault.
I actually do.
You want to hear me? I could go on for a while here, Buster. But you mentioned Montembeault getting the start here, and this is kind of interesting from a betting perspective, guys, because last time out when the Habs had a back-to-back, right? They had Florida and Tampa Bay. They started the rookie goaltender in the front half of the back-to-back against Florida, making his debut, Jakub Dobeš, who got recalled from Laval when they sent down Caden Primo. But here's the caveat here, guys. Here's the interesting part. This time, the Canadiens are doing the opposite of that. Because last time around, they wanted to give the harder game to Sam Montembeault. And when I say harder game, they wanted to give Montembeault the second half of a back-to-back. In this time, they're giving Dobeš the harder game tomorrow against the Colorado Avalanche, and they're giving Montembeault the supposedly easier game, of course, against the Blackhawks, and putting their guy that's the number one guy that's made the Four Nations roster for Team Canada, that's having a great season, that's played well in his last 7 or 8 starts against the Blackhawks. And a lot of people have been confused about this online, guys, but what does this tell you? I mean, let's be honest, what it really tells us, the Habs want to beat the game that they think is the obvious win. And then whatever happens against Colorado, it's just hey, we'll roll the dice and see whatever happens. They're putting their number one goalie against the team that's lost a bunch of games in a row, and they're putting their guy that's only played one career NHL game against the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow. I mean, think about it, guys. Dobeš tomorrow will play his second career NHL game against the Avalanche. His first career game was against the Florida Panthers. Geez, Montreal really throwing this guy into the fire with his first 2 games. So where am I going with this, guys? Chicago just got the absolute living crap stomped out of them against the St. Louis Blues on the Outdoor Winter Classic. They cannot be feeling good about themselves. I like the under here on Freaky Friday, guys. I hope the Habs win, and I know it's a little bit contrarian. Of course, you take a look at some of these games for Chicago. Give up 6 goals, give up 5, give up 6, give up 4, give up 6. I think it'd be a very easy play to come on here and say, Habs team total, sign me up, plus money. They're scoring goals, and it very well could happen. But I think that we're seeing the number one goalie get trotted out there tonight for the Habs. We're seeing them play not just good offensively, but better defensively. And the Chicago Blackhawks, for them, after that performance, apparently, I don't know if this is a true rumor or not, but the GM made comments of the Blackhawks saying that his guys didn't even show up to Wrigley Field to play defense, and he didn't like their effort, not just the coach, but the GM. Under 6.5 for me, guys. Obviously, you know who I'm cheering for, but under 6.5, I think we actually could see a shockingly defensive game in this one, Carm. Another game where I'm going to be just plugging my nose, closing my eyes, probably not even watching because I can't believe I'm taking an under in a Habs and Hawks game. I can't believe it.
Yeah, those winter classics are tough, Andrew, for the most part. Maybe especially for the Chicago team, because the winter classics, especially if it is extremely cold, what you don't see during the intermissions or breaks, there's a lot of shoveling going on because that ice frosts up very quickly. You get a lot of snow on it, and it slows down the puck. The skill teams. It's tough on the skill teams. It's even tougher on teams that don't have skill through after their top six, and that's even hard pressed for Chicago right now. The guy who's supposed to lead them through this rebuild stage is supposed to be Connor Bedard. He's not doing it, but it's what you're surrounded with at the same time as well too. They're starting to resemble, whether that happens tonight or not. It stands the same regardless of tonight's result. What you're starting to see from the Chicago Blackhawks is what we saw last season from the Chicago Blackhawks. They're going to go through spurts of losing a lot of games. Like I think last year at one point, did they not lose something like 21 games in a row on the road or something like that? They were a terrible road team. They're at home, obviously, tonight. But they're just not a very good team. They're going to finish in the bottom three overall in the standings and likely have a shot at another number one pick in the draft. So we'll see. It's a rebuild there. You can't expect much from a team that is in a rebuild, but you want them to at least be competitive, and it just doesn't seem like they're being competitive right now. Andrew, before we go to this final game, which is Nashville and Vancouver, give us some winning props.
Carm, I wanted to say it's been a good run right now, sides and totals, team totals, the first periods, but past week or two with these props, I have not been on my game. I have not been on my game. I want to own up to it, and we want to get on a real good run again with these player props. I have just 2 for this Friday slate here, guys, and it looks like it will be a 2-pack of plays for me tonight into the NHL. Unfortunately, we did step out with 4 plays yesterday. We went 2-2. The run in the NHL still pretty good. 21-6. Last 27 plays, 78% for plus 38 units. So we're still on a really good run in the NHL. You guys can get my 2-pack at WagerTalk.com. And also, don't forget about that great deal. You buy to the 90-day special, and you will get a free 30 days right on top of your order. We're feeling good right now, guys. We're feeling good in the NHL. We're feeling good in multiple sports. UFC is around the corner, and I'm ready to start releasing plays in multiple sports again. Let's jump into these 2 plays. Let's start things off with Dylan Holloway from the St. Louis Blues, over 2.5 shots on goal. This guy has hit this play in 5 of his last 6 games, and the number is plus 115. Yesterday, I gave you guys some chalky plays, and I liked them a lot. They didn't work out, and I heard about it from you guys on Twitter, on YouTube. You guys didn't want the chalk. This is a nice plus 115 play here against the Ottawa Senators, playing a second half of a back-to-back. The game opened at 6, went down to 5.5, but I see goals in this one. I see both teams having chances, and Holloway has been a shooter since joining the Blues from the Edmonton Oilers. Over 2.5 shots on goal, plus 115 is the move for Dylan Holloway. The next one here, we just talked about it on PuckTime, the Canadiens and the Blackhawks. Juraj Slafkovsky to record a point is only minus 115. All right, sure, this guy isn't having the best season to his standards compared to how he went last year, but last year he was a slow starter as well. And now he started to really pick things up with a point in 5 of his last 6 games. And he has really stepped up. And the fact is, he's on the first line with Suzuki and Caulfield. He's on the power play unit, the number 1 power play unit every single game. And with Doc playing better, with Laine scoring goals in the power play, with his teammates scoring, it helps him get these assists and it helps him create opportunities. Not to mention, we've seen the Blackhawks give up at least 4 goals in 5 straight games. This game, we probably should see some points from Montreal Canadiens players. Minus 115 for a first-line player. Sign me up, guys. I will happily take that for one of my wagers for tonight. Just 2 props, guys. Let's try and sweep the board. And don't forget, 21-6 NHL run at WagerTalk.com. Join me for all of my favorite plays. All right, guys, I'm interested in what you guys have to say about this game because this game's taking a lot of money here, Buster. We've seen overnight money, morning money, afternoon money, lunchtime money, wherever you're watching and what time it is, where you are, we've seen money come in on the Nashville Predators. How do you feel about that in this game?
Well, I have to tell you, Andrew, I am a little shocked about that. I mean, it was 125 last night when I was doing my work about 2 a.m. And now it's I see up to 150, maybe even 155 some places. So yeah, they're hitting these road teams tonight between Nashville and Montreal. That's something else for them to be hit that early as well too. The Canucks do come here after playing last night in less than 24 hours. They blew a 3-1 lead again. This team blows leads in third periods like crazy, and they end up getting Seattle pulled their goalie, scored, tied them up just like they did like on Saturday. They actually scored 2 goals against Vancouver, tied them up. But Vancouver did come out with the win. However, this is going to be that dreaded 3rd game in 4 nights for the Canucks. And Vancouver have not been good at all on a back-to-back. 0-3 this season. And actually, one of those back-to-backs, they lost right here against Nashville 5-3 on November 17th. So there's that there. The big problem here is how can you bet this Nashville team? Geez, I've actually put them on my no-bet list about 3 weeks ago. Just sick of trying to think when this team's going to come around because they come around, they look good, they beat Carolina. Since Christmas, they've lost all 3 games. And they've lost all 3 games by more than 2 goals or 2 goals or more. So I'm not going to lay that kind of price on Nashville. That's just crazy. No matter how bad, no matter how ripe for the picking Vancouver is tonight, which they are, there's no doubt about that, especially now that it looks like Demko won't be got hurt last night in the second period. So their goaltending situation might be troublesome for them tonight. So, yeah, I cannot take this national team. I don't want any part of a Vancouver team in a bad spot. I strongly suggest to everyone to pass this side. It's unbettable, I'm concerned, especially now with Nashville being that high race. I do like the over 5.5 of juice. Again, Vancouver comes home off a back-to-back, so you're looking at they might not be playing the best, and also, like on defense anyways, and also the goaltending situation I talked about. We'll have to see what happens, even if Lankinen plays again tonight. He played last night, for a period and a half, and now he's going to have to play again tonight. I haven't seen the starters yet. They might bring up somebody else. Maybe they have, because that's why Nashville's up to 150, just like that this morning. So that's a possibility. But at home, Vancouver has been money on the over. They're 8-2-1 the last 11 games at home to the over. And Nashville, even though they are, an under team, could all agree, they're 4-2 the last 6 to the over. They have been playing a little bit more offensively, which I believe they have to do because this whole defensive thing hasn't worked for Nashville at all because they just keep losing games. Not sure if the offensive thing is going to work for them either. I'm not sure what's wrong with that team. They should be a lot better. Anyways, for us, please pass the side, bet the over 5.5.
All right, Buster. I listen. We talk about like Vig getting away, and this one seems to be getting away to the point where, at minus 130, minus 135, that it was this morning when I was doing my notes for today's show. I had it down as my lean in this game, but I don't want to. At 160, it's not going to make my card, so I'm not going to tell people to bet at 160. If you want to, it's your money. But I'm not going to lead you to minus 160 if I'm not playing it myself. The thing with some of these games is sometimes while the full game price is taking a lot of action, the secondary markets, like the first period money line, isn't taking the money as of yet. It's still minus 130 for the Nashville Predators. And my thought is always you have to have a good first period if you have any plans of winning a game. And to that point, last 10 games for the Nashville Predators, they are 6-1-3 on the first period money line. They've only trailed at the end of 20 minutes once in their last 10 games, despite there being a few losses in there, 6 of them wins. So it's a team that gets off to good starts and then somehow doesn't finish off games. That's where my play would be, minus 130 on Nashville first period money line. 6-1-3 is hard to ignore. It's a profitable angle for a team that has not been profitable this season. Andrew?
Carmine, it's so weird because we talk a lot about how when we start the day on puck time, we don't always have confirmed goalies. We don't always have a lot of information that we might want, but there are advantages to us starting the day here on puck time as one of the first shows on WagerTalk TV. And one of the advantages is, well, if there's money coming in on a team, at least we can tell people about it. At least we can talk about it right now. And we can get the number as fast as we can, get the bet in before the number gets even bigger than it's already going to. And I think at this point right now, the Nashville number has just climbed and climbed and climbed from the overnight number, taking so much money. They've played New Year's Eve. They lose to the Minnesota Wild. They're losing to these good teams. And the thing is about this Nashville Predators team is that their schedule does not get any better. 5 of their next 7 games are all against playoff opponents. It's going to be tough for this team. So clearly this is an advantageous spot for them. Clearly it's a spot they should take advantage of. And I'll tell you, I'm frustrated with the Vancouver Canucks because they didn't, but they almost blew another lead for me last night. I had the Canucks as an underdog. It was 3-1 again against Seattle, and they needed a shootout to win that one. So, is the whole fat and sassy angle going to be here again? I'm not sure. They should be happy about that shootout victory. But I think when you look at Nashville and you don't want to lay juice, right? You guys know I'm a team totals guy. Nashville, like Buster talked about on his no bet list, Nashville is a team that I will not bet their team totals with, right? I just won't do it. You look at teams like Colorado, every time they win a game, they're putting up that magic number of 4 goals. Nashville's not one of those teams. So what's the next best thing to do if you want to get a nicer price, some plus money? Well, it's the same thing I should have done last night with the Golden Knights and the Philadelphia Flyers. Team total under for the underdog. And I'm going to take Vancouver under 2.5 goals team total at plus 100. You go from that favorited position of Nashville that went from 135, 140, 150, and it's still climbing. But the team total under for Vancouver hasn't really changed its price very much. So under 2.5 goals, Vancouver plus 100. Avoid exposing the bankroll too much. You get that great price. And if you can tell, I'm not too happy because last night I had a loss with a late empty net goal in the Philadelphia and a Vegas game. And so as much as I talk to you guys about team total overs, you might start hearing me betting team total unders when I'm betting on unders as well, because usually these empty net goals help us. Last night, the empty net goal did not help me, but I'll take Vancouver under 2.5. And it's now time for Carm to look at some games for Saturday's slate in the 6 and 60.
Yeah, before we get started with that clock there, 6 and 60, the chances of me getting the 6 games done in 60 seconds is about the same chance as the Sabres have of winning the cup or me finding the fountain of youth, Andrew. It is not going to happen, but we're going to give it a shot. So with that said, producer Joe is producer Dan somewhere. I don't know where he is, man. He's probably in Philadelphia getting ready for the Eagles playoff games or whatever. But we have Joe here. And Joe, when you're ready, hit that clock. All right, Minnesota, Carolina. Solid bounce back win for the Canes on Thursday against Florida. Love their January schedule. I'll talk about that after the 6-60, but take them on the money line here. They're going to beat Minnesota. They're playing extremely well right now. I expect them to be in first place at the end of February. St. Louis and Columbus taking the over. Let's see if the Blue Jackets home over trend continues. Now 16-4 after an over last night as well too. Devils and Sharks. I'm going to take the Devils in regulation. They really need to salvage this road trip, and a win here will do it against a Sharks team who's off a win, but 2-11 their last 13 games, and 10 of those 11 losses have been in regulation. Devils in regulation. Detroit and Winnipeg taking the over here. Rare back-to-back losses for the Jets, allowing 9 goals in their last 2 games, and suddenly playing the Hot Wings. Yes, the Hot Wings, I said it. 3-game win streak, 13 goals scored for Detroit. Let's take the over in this one. T-Bay and the LA Kings. Kings money line. 10-1 their last 11 at home. Much like George Jefferson, they're moving on up. And finally, Vegas and Buffalo. Vegas puck line. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 25-13 for the Vegas Golden Knights on the puck line. That is your 6-70, 80, 90.
6-85, 6-30. I like those plays, Carm. And I'm pumped up. That is a good slate.
90.
It's a good slate.
You know what threw me off the very first game. It took about 15 seconds because Carolina. So guys, I always talk about look aheads. I've done it over the last couple of years in highlighting when I think a team is going to go on the run. I talked about the Ottawa Senators, and the Ottawa Senators are winning games and making money. And a lot of times they're either a dog or a short price favorite. This is Carolina's January schedule, and I think there are a lot of wins in this game. And I think they're going to be in first place in the Eastern Conference when February 1st hits. They've got Minnesota at home tonight. Then they got the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then they head to Florida to play Tampa Bay. Home to the Leafs, home to Vancouver, home to Anaheim, at Buffalo, home to Vegas, at Chicago, at Dallas, home to Columbus, at New York Islanders, and they finish it off with the New York Rangers and the Chicago Blackhawks. Guys, find the right prices on these games, maybe some puck lines, maybe some regulation plays, but there are a ton of wins, absent of any injuries for Carolina, that they are going to pick up in January, and they will be in first place in the Eastern Conference as we head into February. Any thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, it's a good schedule. I mean, a lot of teams have bad schedules coming up. They've got a good schedule, so I'm right there with you. And it's just about finding a way to bet on them and finding a way, like I keep saying, to get the best prices we possibly can. Let's go to Buster for his best bet and what he has going on this weekend. Buster, fresh off that win on the Fighting Irish, and I had that one with you as well. So not just cashing tickets in hockey, but on the football field as well. What do you have going on this weekend, Buster?
Yeah, I just want to mention to Carmine, I'm pretty sure the demographics for our audience may not know who George Jefferson is. Just saying. They might, but probably not. Yeah, WagerTalk's got that great deal to start the new year. Buy a 90-day all-access pass, and you get a free month. That's a $299 value, so that's a great deal that they have. You head on over to the site, grab our hockey. That's a great deal to grab NHL hockey, 3 months of our hockey, get 1 month free. They'll take you right into the playoffs, probably into the first round. So head on to WagerTalk.com and check that out. Our show play for tonight, whatever, is going to be the Edmonton Oilers on the puck line in my first period puck line play. Edmonton is like a 450 or 460 favorite? Back in the day, you never saw, even with Gretzky's Oilers, you never saw those kind of prices. It's crazy, 460. Wow. But you still get a really good price on Edmonton for the first period on the puck line at -110. And we like that play because Anaheim is coming here on a back-to-back less than 24 hours after scoring late against Winnipeg. They were down 3-2, got a late goal, tied it up, and then beat the Jets in overtime. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Also, Edmonton has only won 1 out of the last 3 games. And guess where they lost on Sunday? Yeah, that's right. They lost to Anaheim 5-3 in Anaheim on Sunday. Some nice little revenge spot. Edmonton will not take these guys lightly at all. They're going to come out with purpose, and I think they have a great first period. And we will be playing Edmonton Oilers on the puck line for the first period, -0.5, -110. As always, best of luck with all your plays this whole entire weekend. And I want everybody to have a wonderful, great weekend.
That's the Buster special right there. He's back. He's back, Carm. The Buster special is back.
He's back.
-0.5 goal for its period. What do you have for best bet, Carm?
Yeah, so originally it was going to be the Nashville -135 one. I'll get to that one in a second. I've obviously changed it up a little bit, and in case the graphic is wrong, I'll explain why. But before then, a couple plays up in the NHL for tonight. A full slate of action tomorrow, be it both hockey, football, and European soccer, and then on to the NFL. And speaking of the NFL, Melissa in the office has put together a great deal. You can get the rest of the NHL season, and I'm going to toss in for free the rest of the NFL season, which includes obviously Week 18 and the NFL playoffs. And this stat I still find this mind-blowing. I love this stat. Not just this season, not even last season, but you got to go back to 3 seasons, the last 3 seasons in the NFL. When I release a 4 or 5% play, and I have 3-4% plays for this Sunday's card, plus 115 units in the NFL, which is number 1 at WagerTalk the last 3 years combined. So let's just keep that run going. You can find that over on my page at WagerTalk and in the deal section, I believe. I'm going to stick with the Nashville game, but I'm going to go to the first period because that line has gotten out of hand, -160. I'm not going to give you guys a play that I'm not going to play myself. It is your money. So I'm taking the first period. I like the first period. I like that 6-1-3 stats, only trailed after 20 minutes in one of their last 10 games. And that's where I'm going here, Andrew. Give me Nashville, -130, first period. 20 and out for me. Once again, Andrew, close it out with a best bet winner.
Yeah, guys, my best bet will be the over 1.5 in the first period with the Ottawa Senators and the St. Louis Blues. Of course, second half of back-to-back for the Ottawa Senators here in this one. They've done a pretty good job this season with responding after poor performances and started off decent against Dallas, but then Dallas took over in that game. St. Louis, look, they might have looked good defensively against the Blackhawks, but I think the three of us would look good defensively against the Blackhawks these days. So I still don't believe their defense is top-notch. I think Ottawa gets one early. Wouldn't be surprised to see both teams with a goal after the first period. So over 1.5 first period. This is not a client play. This is a free play. Just missed my card, but I will have some beer and pizza money on this play. 21-6 run, guys, at wagertalk.com. If you want to join my plays, no better time to get that 90-day special, get all access. We'll throw in 30 days for free. But on behalf of Carmine, Buster, and Mr. Joe Ranieri, I am Andrew, and we thank you for being with us here on this long edition of Puck Time. Have a good weekend, guys. See you on Monday.